Thumbelina's Magical Adventure, a journey of friendship and dreams. Once upon a time, in a magical world, there lived a tiny girl named Thumbelina. She was no bigger than a thumb, with eyes as blue as forget-me-nots and hair as golden as the summer sun. Thumbelina's life was filled with magic, adventure, and wonder, and it all began with a very special seed. One day, a kind old woman who loved to plant flowers was given a magical seed by a fairy. The fairy told her that if she planted it with love, something extraordinary would grow. The old woman carefully planted the seed in a small pot, watered it, and sang sweet lullabies to it every night. In just a few days, a beautiful flower bloomed, unlike any flower the old woman had ever seen. It had petals as soft as silk and a scent so sweet it filled the entire room. As the old woman admired the flower, she noticed something incredible. A tiny girl emerged from the petals. The old woman named her Thumbelina, for she was as small as a thumb. Thumbelina made her home among the flower petals, where she spent her days exploring the tiny world around her, making friends with the insects, and sleeping in beds made of rose petals. One night, as Thumbelina slept peacefully in her petal bed, she was discovered by two field mice. They were enchanted by her delicate size and decided to take her to their cozy home. Thumbelina, being curious and kind, agreed to go with them. The mice gave her a tiny bed and a leaf blanket to keep her warm. They shared their food and stories with her, and soon, Thumbelina became part of their little family. Winter arrived, and the world outside became cold and harsh. Thumbelina wore a tulip petal as a coat to stay warm and help the mice with their chores. Even though life was difficult, Thumbelina's kind nature and her new family kept her warm and loved. One day, while gathering crumbs in the kitchen, Thumbelina heard a soft, sad voice coming from outside. She followed the sound through the cold snow and found a small bird, lying injured and unable to fly. Thumbelina's heart filled with compassion, and she brought the bird into the warmth of the mouse hole. She cared for the bird, sharing her stories and comforting him during the long winter nights. With Thumbelina's kindness, the bird's wings healed, and when spring returned, the bird was ready to fly again. Though it was hard to say goodbye, Thumbelina wished the bird well and watched as her dear friend flew off into the bright blue sky. Now alone, Thumbelina began to feel the call of adventure even more strongly. She wanted to explore the world beyond the mouse hole. One evening, as she gazed up at the stars, she heard beautiful music coming from the nearby pond. It was a group of frogs, singing and dancing under the moonlight. Drawn by the music, Thumbelina visited the frogs, who welcomed her with open arms. They danced and sang all night, and Thumbelina felt the joy of freedom and adventure in her heart. The frogs introduced her to their king, who was captivated by her beauty and asked her to marry him. Although the Frog King was kind, Thumbelina knew that her heart belonged to the skies and the wider world. As her wedding day approached, Thumbelina heard a familiar chirp outside her window. It was the bird she had saved. Her heart filled with happiness at the sight of her old friend. Together, Thumbelina and the bird made a plan. That very night, as the frog slept, Thumbelina climbed onto the bird's back, and with a flap of its powerful wings, they soared into the sky, leaving the frog kingdom far behind. As they flew over forests, rivers, and meadows, Thumbelina's heart swelled with joy. She had always dreamed of seeing the world from above, and now her dream had come true. The bird brought Thumbelina to a beautiful garden, where they gently landed among the flowers. As she explored the garden, Thumbelina met a handsome prince, who was just her size. The prince had also been enchanted by a fairy and brought to the garden. When Thumbelina and the prince met, they knew they had found true love. The prince admired Thumbelina's adventurous spirit, and Thumbelina felt like she had finally found her place in the world. They were married in a grand ceremony, surrounded by flowers, birds, and the gentle rustling of leaves. Together, Thumbelina and the prince made their home in the garden, where they lived happily ever after, sharing their dreams and adventures with the world. Moral of the story: Thumbelina's tale teaches us that kindness, Courage and the willingness to follow your dreams can lead to incredible adventures. Even though Thumbelina was small, her heart was full of bravery, and her kindness brought her true friends and love. The story shows us that no matter how difficult life may seem, friendship and following your dreams will always lead you to happiness.